Finding a home before landing or arriving in Canada can really be a daunting task, especially for a new immigrant that have no income. But before you jump into searching for the perfect home for you or your family, there are a few things you should consider. In this video, we'll talk about types of houses, deciding on where you should settle in, budgets, basically on how you would make a choice on deciding which home is best for you according to your budget. Hey you, thanks for jumping in. If you're new here, my name is Dukbe and I am a Nigerian living in Canada. And since you are here, just touch that subscribe button. Where is it? Here. I don't know. Touch the subscribe button so we can be friends. Now, deciding on where you want to settle in, here are a few things that I see people talked about. If you are in a professional career line, you want to research for cities where there are job opportunities for you. For example, now I hear people in renewable energy moving to Calgary because they believe there are job opportunities for them in Calgary. Another thing is your budget, how much you are willing to spend on rent per month. Being a new immigrant, you're just coming in, you've probably spent, not even probably, you have spent like a whole lot of money to even get to where you are now. You want to think of maximizing what you have left, and in my own opinion, why should you spend so much money on rent? Definitely just go on Google, type in cheap areas to live in say Ontario. Google for cheap areas to live in where the houses are cheap. Now let's move on to types of houses or apartments and deciding on which one is best for you. Basically, there are two types: the main house type, the one that looks really like a house standing on its own, and the high-rise building, the one that has like hundreds of flats or hundreds of apartments in the whole building, those tall buildings that you see everywhere. If you're looking at houses, we can also call it property. They usually comes with basements, and it's their basement that is most of the time available for rent. Now the chances of getting the upper floor is a little slim, but they are available. But mostly you see basements available almost all the time. So yeah, the landlord could be living above you, or it could just be another tenant living above you. And this type of houses or property are managed by the landlords. But here is the thing: a lot of people do not like to live in basement homes because it is basement, it is underground. Why should you live in underground, an enclosed area, like zero ventilation? Some people even say that causes depression. But there are ways around it. I have lived in that kind of a basement before, and it's actually it's something that lots of people do not like or wouldn't like. That is exactly what you feel. So there are ways about it. There are actually basements that are spacious. If you find a big house, the chances that the basement is going to be as spacious, as big as that house looks, is high. But if you find a small house, the chances that the basement is going to be small and enclosed and tight is also high. When you're trying to rent a basement apartment, make sure that you're looking at houses that are actually big, and they're also going to market that type of basement as upper level basement. So when you hear or see something like upper level basement, know that it's actually spacious. The ceiling can be high, just like where we live right now. The windows are big, the door is high, the ceiling is so high, the entrance is so wide, the sitting room is so big. This is my kitchen, it's quite big. So when you're trying to look for basement apartment, you look out for upper level basement because they are much better. You're also going to get private entrance, and during summer you don't feel the heat that much because you're underground anyway. As far as I'm concerned, the only issue I found about basement is the furnace room. The furnace room is always in the basement, and you're going to be living with the furnace room. Let me tell you something, it makes noise, but it's not as loud as a Niger generator that you put behind your bedroom. Let's talk about the rent for basements. The sweet spot about renting a house is that your rent will be inclusive of your utilities. Not all the time, but usually 100% your rent will be inclusive of it. However, there are ones that it could be 70%, it could be 30%. The landlord will cover some, you cover some. And utility include free ones: spot parking, gas, heat, electricity, and even sometimes internet. Now, if you are going for this high-rise building apartment, this type of apartment is usually managed by companies or even an individual that probably just own one apartment in the whole of the building. So here you get your beautiful natural views that you are looking for. All those sunsets and sunrise, you are going to be seeing it. To be honest, I wish that I can actually see sunrise and sunset. You also get a noise-free environment. Now let's talk about the rent. The rent is usually not inclusive of utilities. The ones that I've seen, they will include hydro, which is electricity, and some may not include hydro. They just include just heat, because heating is a central system. Some may give you free parking spots, while some you may pay for it. It could be $100, $70. You will buy your own internet, because even if they give you internet, it might not be that strong because everyone is on it. Then you have elevator to take you to whatever floor that you are on. You may have access to gym, because the complex may comes with gym. You may have access to gym, and then free locker, because the apartment at some point may not be big enough to contain your properties anymore when you start buying and buying and buying. Now that's that. Another thing to consider is access to basic things like malls and bus stops, because transportation here, if you are not careful, if you are living in a place where the bus doesn't get to you, you will have to walk 10 minutes before you get to a bus stop. No, it doesn't really make sense like that, especially during the winter season. And you do not want to be spending the small money where you bring come country. You don't want to be spending it on Uber up and down. To be honest, you can live in this country for years without getting a ride. There are buses everywhere. Just make sure that where you are, you can easily get bus, you can easily get train. Since you haven't landed, you are still in your home country, how do you now know if the house that you find and that you like have easy access to bus terminals? Just put the address on Google and you can actually see the house and look at the environment. Just make sure that you read the descriptions very well. Now, how much is rent? That is not cast in stones. Just budget about 1,200 to about 3,000 Canadian dollars per month. Now, which is cheaper, the basement apartment or the high-rise building, the condo apartment? Which one is cheaper? Personally, for me, the basement home is cheaper. Rent isn't always expensive, plus it includes utilities. So the amount that you will pay for a basement apartment plus utilities is still cheaper than the amount you pay as a high-rise building minus utilities. Here is the thing: when renting, the landlord may request that you provide evidence that you have income and can continue paying your rent beyond the first month. Now, that is a huge challenge for a new immigrant, because you are coming into the country jobless. And who would want to rent out their apartment to you? You don't have income. You only have 1 month at hand. How are you going to pay for the rest of the month? What do you want to do? Keep searching. You will be lucky and find a landlord that may be willing to rent out to you, but on conditions. They will want you to commit to about 4 to 6 months of payments, and some can even ask for like 2 payments. If you have enough money in your account, when you get to Canada, open a Canadian bank, put in your money in the bank, and get a signed bank statement from the bank showing that you have enough money to cover your rent. If you have someone here, ask them to be your guarantor or co-signee, so they put their life, their integrity or their income in line for you, so that when you default, the landlord will go and hold them by the neck unique. And also intensify your job search. Keep searching because you may actually be in luck to find a landlord that wouldn't mind that you are a new immigrant. Also, you can find people that are looking to sublet just to share the rent. So keep looking, you will find something that will work for you. Definitely just be positive. So where do you search? You want to go to Kijiji and Facebook Market. There are other places too, but these two places you will easily meet with landlords directly. In fact, most landlords are always on Facebook Market. They put their heart out there by themselves, so you will be communicating directly to the landlord. You also find people that will be specifically saying they take new immigrants. You also see people that's asking for mates to share the rent with. And as a Nigerian, go on to Naira Land, go and search for thread like living in Canada as a PR. Join the conversation, ask for help. I've seen where they will just drop you a phone number of someone to talk to, which will most likely be a Nigerian. Now, when searching on this site, to make your life easier, know what you want. You want to make use of filter like the number of rooms you are looking at. Are you looking at single occupants? Is it a family place? Read description properly, especially if you have children. Do not assume that it's a 2-bedroom, they're just going to take you. Some landlords can be funny. They will choose pets over children, and that's a fact. How easy is it to now find a house before arriving? The truth of the matter is, you may find a house before arriving, but do you want to pay for a house that you haven't inspected? Also, do you want to get scammed? There are scammers everywhere. There are scammers here in Canada. If you find a place of interest before arriving and you have friends and families in Canada, you can ask them if it's okay for them to help you inspect their home. Otherwise, book an Airbnb apartment for like minimum of 2 weeks. Then once you land, start your search immediately. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you can always know whenever I upload a new video. And I'm going to see you in my next one. Thanks, guys.